Hello, my name is Isolise, or Caffeine Misery, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite decks that I missed during my hiatus, and that just recently got a couple extra changes with some of the generics we just got out of DZBT12, that being the Fated One of Sacred Time, Liael Draconis. Liael is a deck that focuses around the bind zone, binding against units to get multiple copies out of deck, and using that bind zone as an additional resource for Amorta, which is a perfect card that we'll get to later. But without keeping y'all waiting, let's gotta get into it. Obviously, because I'm me, I'm on the intended 0, and then the grade 1 player of the Lovely Heart Adorphus, that one is wrote upon by player of the Beautiful Chord Eligenia. For a Soul Blast, you'll draw 2, and then either discard a normal unit or discard 2 cards. It's like the original Zorga Rhyline, except normal unit instead of order. For grade 2, obviously we're on player of the Beautiful Chord Eligenia. That, when she's wrote upon by Liael, you can take any number of normal units from your drop and bottom deck them, and as long as you put back at least 3, you get to draw a card. That is any number, no restrictions. That means you can have multiple copies of the same one. You can put back perfect cards if you end up needing them very early, which also means you can just stall your opponent a bit more, get a bit more defense out of the deck. And of course, we've got the girl herself, the Fated One of Sacred Time, Liael Draconis, who, for 4 energy and binding a card from drop, you discard a card from her hand and give her drive +1. Along with that, when she attacks for a single counterblast, you get to bind one of your rear guards. And if you do, you call a unit from your deck with the same name as one of your units in the bind zone. That is one of the big upgrades from Amorta, if you recall. We will get into the kind of compare and contrast just as a refresher. And her divine skill, that at the end of the battle she attacked. If the opponent is grade 3 or greater, you can superior ride a Liael from your drop or soul. It does not have to be Draconis. Moving on into our main deck, of course, we're on 3 Persona rides. We're on 4 copies of Liael and Morta, the original Vanguard, who the skill that matters for us is this second auto right here. That which is put on Guardian Circle by discarding a card from hand and putting 2 cards from bind on the bottom deck. You get to pick one of your Fated One units, and it cannot be hit until end of battle. Of course, she has a slightly different divine skill, but you have to choose one with the same name. It has to be from drop. And she has the on-attack skill, but it has to call the same name as the unit bound. This is just your refresher on the changes between them. I'm down to 3 copies of Blessed Dragon Gabelius, just to try and drop the number of grade 3s of the deck a little bit. When he is placed on the Regard Circle for a Soul Blast, you get to check the top card of the deck, either top or bottom it, and if you bottom decked it, he'll gain 5. And along with that, when he swings, as long as you have 4 more damage, so limit break 4, and he'll just gain 5. Then, but if he was placed by the skill of Fated One unit, and a rearguard has not done drive checks during the battle for a counterblast, you can give him 10k drive -1 instead and let him do drive checks. Moving on, we've got the main new card, and by main I mean only new card, from set 12 for the deck, that being the Nebula Knight's Path to Reach for the Stars, which is a grade 3 order that can be played from drop and checks the top 7 to call a rearguard. This is one of the best discards to have for Liael or just for riding up. On that, to round out our grade 3 cards, I'm on the Fire Regalis as my Regalis piece, because it can be removed from drop to check the top 5 and call, and then if you don't call, you draw a card. So it's just more card advantage. Going into our grade 2 lineup, it's pretty small. First off, we've got 4 copies of Knight of Bright Blade Religio, who, on place, as long as you have a grade 3 Liael Vanguard, She can check the top 7 for either a Liael or a Blessed Drangobelius for a single Soul Blast. And as long as you have a grade 3 Vanguard with Liael, she gains 5k, 10k if you have a Blessed Drangobelius either on board or in bind. I'm on 3 copies, and this is going to be a weird one. I'm on 3 copies of Knight of Severance Salivant, who, when she's bound by the ability of your Liael Vanguard, during the turn, you can Soul Blast 1 to call her to the back row, and the end turn, she binds herself again. And as long as you have a grade 3 or greater Liael, she's a booster. She's alright. I'm personally planning on swapping her out for the Silver Key Magic, the promo card. But until then, she's the closest we have to, like, something we can do in the mid-game before grade 3. Moving on to our grade 1s, I'm on 4 copies of Knight of the Distant Bow, Almov, who, when placed, you can reveal a grade 3 Liael in the right deck, and if you do, or you have a grade 3 Liael Vanguard, you'll energy charge 1, which that means you can get 4 every turn. That way you can always pay her cost. And at the end of the battle, she boosts as long as you have a grade 3 or greater Liael Vanguard, and the opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater. You can purge a soul, so that's going to refund your soul. And you, the player, will gain the skill that your front row rear guards gain 5k until end of turn. I'm also on 4 copies of everyone's favorite unit, Sargon, who, when you boost, as long as you have more units than your Vanguard, or than your opponent, more rear guards, or you play in order, it'll gain 5, so it'll be a 13k booster. And at the end of the battle, you can retire it to look at the top 2. One goes to hand, the other gets bottom decked. I'm on 4 PGs, including the Sanctitude. And moving on to my trigger lineup, I am on 8 critical triggers. You could use the soul crits. I'm personally not. I'm on 3 shield fronts. You can also use the soul fronts just fine if you feel like soul is being an issue for you. 4 regular heals because I'm not sure which counter heal I feel like I want to do for this upcoming format. And my OT of choice for Liael is still to this day Spiritual King of Aquatics, Idosfaro, who, when drop check, returns a card from drop to hand and gives a unit a critical. Now it's time for my pros and cons of this deck. First off, it gets a lot more consistent, and more importantly, your loop just gets a lot tighter with the order, the Nebula Knights order. So much is helped just by having another free discard that you're fine with, and because it builds up your board too, losing out on hand size is not nearly as much of a problem. 2, you are on 8 perfect cards, 7 of which can be recycled. And you can use the regular ones during the early game too. So like if your opponent happens to have a board that has a lot of criticals, you don't want to take the damage, you can do it. This deck is very good at playing the long game because of that. And 3, if you do get immensely crit stacked somehow, I'm so sorry. This is not grade blocked, which is just a neat fact. And the compression is incredibly good. We're on the... we're going to dig for 1 from 7. 1 from 5. 1 from 7 on repeats. 1 of 2. 3 drive checks constantly. You are always a threat, and because it's drive +1 and not triple drive, you are not a free Sanctitude target. But going into the cons, this is a lot of grade 3s. And yes, this is a grade 3 perfect card once you're on grade 3. If you are going second or you're hitting a lot of really tough turns to guard, you have a good chunk of your deck, about half of the non-triggers and sentinels, that just don't have guard value. 2, the numbers don't actually get that big without out seeing triggers. You're seeing, you'll be seeing a lot of 20, 30s, maybe 40 if you have multiple all moves on individual units. The boosters do help, but it's a lot of numbers that get slowed down if your opponent's on some heavier guard stuff, because there's a lot more stuff that guards really well. In current Vanguard, there's a lot more cards that can take hits really well, too, so, like, that's a problem, and a lot of the numbers with the current guard value, 1 defensive makes it a lot easier to guard. And 3, you don't really have in early game. The only things that you can really call in the early game, on like your grade 1, grade 2 turns, are Sargon and Celivant. That is a problem that is going to be fixed with the upcoming Silver Key Magic promo, because she's a grade 2 that just needs you to have a Draconis in your right deck so she can do stuff. She can be a combat unit, which is very helpful, very nice. And you're also going to be getting, in a couple of months, the Dual Nation, the Keter and Dark States one. That's for Animus. That is incredibly good for Draconis. And it's another unit that you are perfectly fine just putting on the Rearguard Circle early. But this is my Draconis list. If you guys like the video, you like the deck list, you want to recommend something I do all the usual stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Ciao.